Ladies and gentlemen, as a surprise to literally tens of people, Apple has officially killed the Mac Pro. Now, for anybody else who's been reading Apple news or just reading the f***ing room, this really isn't a surprise. There's a lot of reasons why the Mac Pro just doesn't make sense for Apple nowadays, and there's also a lot of things that Apple was just doing at the time that pointed to the fact that this Mac Pro wasn't going to live much longer. So the Mac Pro dying didn't really come as a surprise to me, but what did surprise me is the fact that this is the first time since Apple introduced the Mac Pro that we haven't had a Mac Pro in the lineup. Like when I first read the news, I thought, well, you know, this isn't the first time Apple's killed the Mac Pro and then brought it back later, but in reality, this is the first time that Apple has killed the Mac Pro. The times that I was thinking of were when people just were not buying the Mac Pro because it didn't make sense to, because it had a spec that didn't make sense to buy in that time. Perfect example was the trash can Mac Pro, where they were still selling that thing all the way up until the release of the brand new cheese grater, and that thing still had specs in it from 2013. But yeah, going all the way back to 2006, Apple has never not had a Mac Pro in their lineup. But then why would they kill off this Mac Pro? And what were they doing that kind of led a lot of people to assume that the Mac Pro was going to die soon? Well, let's go back and look at some history of the Mac Pro first, and then look at what Apple was doing now. Back in 2006, Apple actually wrapped up their transition from PowerPC to Intel with the Mac Pro. This was basically the Power Mac G5, but with Intel chips, and there were actually quite a few changes. This Mac Pro had an incredible drive expansion system with sleds for your drives, it had daughter boards for RAM, and it held on to the PCI Express expansion of the Power Mac G5. But it also didn't require water cooling that would eventually leak down into the power supply and kill the whole machine.
This will go to the G5. Whoa. Whoa!
Rest in peace, Crazy Ken's Power Mac G5. But yeah, because the original case of the Power Mac G5 was introduced as just a means of getting air to this extremely hot chipset, Apple now, with more thermal headroom due to the Intel chips, was able to take way more advantage of this case space. So instead of having to run a ton of fans and some liquid cooling and massive heat sinks, they were able to put, like I mentioned, the RAM daughter boards. The expansion slot bay is now just open instead of having all these little channels for fans and airflow. And they were able to free up some space up top to give you an extra disk drive. And this case design continued on until 2012, which means that Apple literally used the same original cheese grater design from 2003 all the way until 2012. That is impressive. Now, of course, there were some updates done to the internals during that time, specifically in the 2010 to 2012 Mac Pro, which introduced newer PCI Express card slots and moved the processors onto the same daughter board as the RAM, meaning that you could now easily upgrade your RAM and your processor by simply sliding it out of the machine. This is what led to what many consider to be the best Mac Pro of all time, 5,1. This thing can be expanded very cheaply nowadays to 12 cores, 128 gigabytes of RAM. You can put all kinds of expansion card slots in there, from newer graphics cards, even if you do have to modify the power delivery of the disk drive to run them. You can also put capture cards, sound cards. People have even done expansion for PCI Express NVMe on cards. That is freaking wild. So yeah, this thing was extremely expandable, and you could basically just keep it running for ridiculously long amounts of time. And some people still do. I actually recently went into a recording studio where they still had a 5,1 Mac Pro running the soundboard, so there you go. But this design was clearly something that Apple felt like was aging, and they wanted to do something new, and they wanted to kind of present a new vision for the Mac Pro, which was the 2013 Trash Can Mac Pro. Now, I will say it up front, for 2013, the specs in this thing, for the price, were actually really impressive. PCI-based SSDs. Nobody was really doing that on boot volumes. Nobody was really doing that in general at that time. You also had the latest Intel Xeon chip, which was great and could be expanded up to a 12-core instead of having dual 6 cores. That was great. Up to 64 gigabytes of ECC DDR3 memory, which was absolutely fantastic. And the big thing was dual graphics. This was not going to be found in any PCs at this price, workstation or otherwise. So that was really impressive in 2013. What wasn't impressive, however, is number one, the thermals. Now, if you let Apple's thermal management do its own thing, Yeah, the thermals sucked. But if you just let the fan ramp up sooner or just ran the fans at full blast, it was quiet enough that it wasn't irritating and it kept the whole system cool. So the cooling capacity was there, but the actual fan management wasn't. But the second thing was that Apple went and removed all of the internal expansion when it came to PCI Express and instead leaned extremely heavily into Thunderbolt. Now, their investment in Thunderbolt is rightly placed, it's just that they did it at the wrong time. Nowadays, you have 80 gigabit per second, 40 gigabit per second, all these crazy speeds that are available through Thunderbolt, to the point where you can get almost PCI Express card slot speeds through a USB-C style port. But that was not the case in 2013. Instead, you were getting 20 gigabits per second, which is still impressive, but you were getting it through mini display. And Apple decided it was a good idea to give you 6 of those. So in 2012, you could buy yourself a Mac Pro and then put all of your expansion cards in it, all of your storage in it, and put it under your desk, and when you press the power button, it all came on through one power cord in the wall. And in 2013, you now have a trash can that's too small to really sit on the floor and just awkwardly sized enough that some desks really won't accommodate it. And you also have to put all of your storage, all of your capture cards, all of your sound equipment, anything that was running through PCI into an enclosure that has to run into Thunderbolt. So each of those needs their own power cord as well, and it just wasn't a great experience. Despite that, Apple held on to this Mac Pro design from 2013 until 2019. And this is what I mean by the fact that I thought that there was a time where there wasn't a Mac Pro in the lineup, but there was. It's just that in 2019, you could buy a trash can Mac Pro and get the same graphics, RAM standards, and processor as a 2013 Mac Pro, because it literally was just a 2013 Mac Pro still being sold in 2019. But then in 2019, Apple finally introduced the newest Mac Pro, and it went back to a similar design with the desktop, and it also added back the PCI Express expansion. So that's awesome. Now for the people who don't want to have all of their stuff outside of a Mac Pro on their desk, they can buy one of these and put all of their expansion cards back into the machine, and it is insanely expandable. You can have up to 1.5 terabytes of not storage, RAM in this thing, and you can change out your storage. Well, kind of. This thing can also run a 28-core Xeon W chip, and you have really interesting MPX modules. These things are basically fanless GPUs, as well as some other interesting cards that you can put in the machine. It's so cool, and oh yeah, it also starts at $6,000. Or $6,500 if you want to cosplay an extra thick X-Serve and get a rack-mounted version. Yeah, it was at this point that Apple made it very clear that they wanted to make a Mac Pro for pros only. Like back in the day, one of the beauties of the original Mac Pro is that it was priced in a way that was definitely expensive, but it was attainable by a ton of people, not just professionals. So if a professional work environment wanted to buy a top spec one of these, they would spend the money on it. But if an average consumer wanted a Mac desktop that wasn't an iMac or a Mac Mini, they could, with a little extra penny pinching, buy one of these things and have a very expandable Mac Pro. I mean, hell, even the Mac Pro trash can with its price bump was more attainable than this. $6,000. And $6,000 gave you an RX 580, which was not a professional card by any stretch of the imagination. 8 cores on that Xeon CPU, which is 20 less than the maximum. Oh, and did I mention that it only came with 16 gigabytes of RAM in a $6,000 machine? What a mess. And yeah, even though people were completely baffled by the pricing of this thing, Apple just continued to sell this very clearly boutique, not quite professional computer until the transition to Apple Silicon. Now, just like the transition from PowerPC to Intel, where the Mac Pro was the last computer to get the Intel chips, the same applied from the transition from Intel to Apple Silicon. The Mac Pro had to wait its turn. It actually had to wait so long that it didn't get the M1 chips, it actually ended up getting the M2 Ultra chip. And that was the only chip option that you could get. And if you don't understand how the chip lineup works, you basically have the M chip, the M Pro chip, which is a bumped up version with more cores and a better graphics system. Then you have the M Max chip, which gives you more graphics cores, so more graphics power, but the same CPU cores as the M Pros. Then you have the Ultras, which take the M Max chips and stitch two of them together, doubling literally everything about the M Max chips. Now, if you bought a Mac Studio, you would have the option for an M Max or an M Ultra, but if you got the Mac Pro, you could only get the Ultra chips. But not only could you only get the Ultra chips, you could only get the M2 Ultra. And that was fine when it came out, but now we don't just have the M2 Ultra. In fact, nothing but the Mac Pro had the M2 chip at all. Oh yeah, and did I mention that it starts at 7,000 instead of 6? But that's okay, right? Because now that you have the Apple Silicon chips inside of the Mac Pro Tower, you can expand the RAM, you can change out the processor, you can add more storage, all of these things. No, what are you, stupid? Nope, the chip is soldered down, the RAM is integrated, and the only reason you would be buying this thing is to have an Apple Silicon chip with PCI Express expansion. And yeah, from 2023 until just a few days ago when Apple killed it, you could only get the M2 Ultra chip. You could only get it with up to 198 gigabytes of RAM. Sorry, I meant 192 gigabytes of RAM, and you could only have up to 8 terabytes of storage. Now you're probably thinking, okay, 192 gigabytes of RAM, 8 terabytes of storage? Yeah, okay, that's a lot. Who cares if you can't get more? Well, professionals care, and if those professionals need more of the storage or of the RAM, your only option is the Mac Studio. Because in the Mac Studio, you can get the M3 Ultra chip or the M4 Max, which is a weird mix, but whatever. And the M3 Ultra chip gives you up to 512 gigabytes of RAM. Now, that 512 gigabytes is currently unavailable on Apple's website, I'm guessing because of, the RAM crisis, but you can still get up to 256 gigabytes of RAM. And when it comes to storage, just a casual 16 terabytes. And this is why I was saying that it's pretty obvious to most people who were looking at what Apple was doing that the Mac Pro was going to get killed off pretty soon. The M2 Ultra chip was old. It's powerful, but it's old. And on top of that, 192 gigabytes of RAM is a lot. But for professionals, especially since the unified memory is shared between system and graphics, you could eat that up. The Mac Studio, on the other hand, can do 256 at time of current configuration or up to 512 if you, bought one before the RAM crisis. And yeah, of course, storage. If you're going to be using a Mac Pro for any sort of mass storage deployment, 8 terabytes is not enough, but you can add more through expansion. But in the case of the Mac Studio, 16 terabytes, just inbuilt. Not counting any expansion you're going to do through Thunderbolt 5, which, by the way, the Mac Studio also has Thunderbolt 5, and the Mac Pro only had Thunderbolt 4. Apple very clearly wanted to focus on the Mac Studio being their pro machine, with the range being an easily attainable machine for the middle to upper level prosumer, all the way up to the highest level machine that any professional could pick up, throw on their desk, and never hit the limits of. And the Mac Pro was basically just them saying, okay, fine, you want PCI, here you go, but you can't use it for graphics, which is what most people use PCI Express cards for. You can only use it for internal expansion like sound cards or USB hubs or other things like that. Oh yeah, and did I mention that the Mac Studio with 256 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD starts at $7,500. That's as much as the rack-mounted version of the M2 Ultra Mac Pro. But that Mac Pro has an older chip and only comes with 64 gigabytes of RAM, not 256. I made a video a while ago talking about how the Mac Studio is basically the new Mac Pro. I'll link the video over there if you want to check it out. But in that video, I talked about how Apple's focus is very clearly on the Mac Studio. It has the most expansion options, the most professional tools built in from the M3 Ultra chip. Even the M4 Max chip is insane in terms of performance. The most RAM, the most storage options, all of that, and it's also got a really good set of expansion ports using Thunderbolt 5. Now, it was Thunderbolt 4 at the time, but my point still stands. Now, yes, I can definitely see how the Mac Studio would be kind of a spiritual successor to the Mac Pro trash can, but again, it's more expandable, it has more options, the whole 9 yards. But I also pointed out in the video that I feel like the Mac Studio should be the Mac Pro, but then the Mac Pro with the PCI Express card slots should be called the Mac Pro E for expansion. But in this day and age where you're either going all in with a ton of graphics cards in a PCI Express enabled case, or you're going all in with incredibly powerful chipsets in a tiny box with high power efficiency, having something that sits in between, i.e. the Mac Pro with M2 Ultra, just didn't make sense. And to charge $7 grand for it, when somebody could pick up a Mac Studio that literally just doesn't have expansion card slots for a fraction of the price, yeah, it's no wonder Apple killed the machine off. It's just kind of weird to think that we're now in an era where there is no Mac Pro in Apple's lineup, especially since there has been one since 2006. I don't know, the history of the Mac Pro is pretty interesting. It was very clear that Apple wanted a professional machine that competed with other computers for the same price in the same space. And they succeeded at that for quite a long time. But obviously there was a shift in 2019 when Apple said, hey, this is a Pro machine, we're pricing it like a Pro machine, and if you're a Pro, you'll pay for it. If you're not a Pro, well, it's too expensive for you anyway. And that trend continued right up until basically Apple just stopped even giving it the tools that it needed to be a competitive machine, and now it's gone. Either way, for the professionals out there who for some reason did get a Mac Pro and not a Mac Studio, it's a sad day. And for everybody else who's still using a Mac Pro, let me know how your 5.1 Mac Pro is doing running all the stuff that you basically set it up to do back in 2010 and haven't touched it since. For everyone else, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to pay my respects to the Mac Pro now that it's gone. I've always wanted to get my hands on a 5.1 Mac Pro and I haven't. I did get a trash can Mac Pro and I upgraded it to its $10,000 spec equivalent in 2013. You can check that video out over there. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out these names over here if you're interested. These are $3 a month members of the Army of Steel. These folks pay the bills, or at least keep the lights on for me, keep things moving when things get a little slow here. They get discounts in my store for all kinds of shirts. You also get things like wallpapers, emojis, badges, the whole 9 yards, and of course these folks have already liked and subscribed. So check these names out over here. Huge shout out to them. Love you all, and I will hopefully see you all in the next video, hopefully not mourning the death of another Apple product. So I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.